Now, Betty Davis has moved several more times after the house on Franklin Avenue. By 1937, Betty and Ham moved into a home at 1700 Cardwater in Beverly Hills. She also lived at 1847 Camino Palmero, which is also a historic house here in Hollywood. Now, in June of 1934, Davis and her husband of nearly 2 years, divorced musician Harmon Ham Nelson, moved from the one lavish rented home to another, from Greta Garble's place on San Vicente Boulevard in Brentwood. The grounds were immense and featured a decorative urn, colonial revival, which we will be showing later,
Camino Parkway,
which was in Beverly Hills, a house that was built, that had been built in 1926 for actress Virginia Valley, who starred in films like Alfred Hitchcock. There's several homes that we will be, of Betty Davis's, that we will eventually be visiting.
1984.
1847 Camino Palmero, an estate built to stand for centuries. This remarkable home of Los Angeles visionary has sold only once since it was built almost a century ago. Like the owner of this magnificent structure, C.E. Toberman, 1847 Camino Palmero is an original and makes its mark in the city's rich history. Now, this remarkable home of Los Angeles is a visionary that sold only once since it was built almost a century ago, like the owner of this magnificent structure. Now, Charles was not the first Toberman to migrate to Los Angeles area. Charles' uncle, Major J.R. Toberman, had been appointed by President Abraham Lincoln himself to come to Los Angeles as a U.S. revenue assessor. This was in 1862, while the Civil War was still raging. 9 years after James Toberman served the first term in Los Angeles mayor, he eventually served 6 one-year terms as the head of the city between 1872 and 1874, and again from 1878 to 1882. Now, Mayor Toberman personally turned on Los Angeles for first electric streetlights in 1882. He saw many infrastructure projects, such as mapping out the first streetcar grid and water and sewer systems during the tenure of Los Angeles Normal School, the precursor to UCLA, established, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, LA Athletic Club, and the city's first synagogue. J.R. Toberman got his first permanent civic recognition over 120 years after leaving office, when the late mayor's final residence, the Toberman House, was restored. The Los Feliz two-story clapboard house was rescued from being bulldozed to make way for a new apartment complex by a preservation-minded architect who brought it for $1.5 million and then restored it to its original glory. Now, in 1922, C.E. Toberman hired architects Russell and Alpau to design his Mission Revival Spanish colonial-style home for his burgeoning family. The Toberman drove the boom of development and enterprise to Hollywood Hills. The compilation of his family home in 1924 marked one of the Toberman's most significant personal achievements. This estate, built on 2 acres, includes a 19-room, just under 10,000 square foot main house and an 1,800 square foot guest apartment and garage with a 30 by 50 foot indoor pool. Toberman, who lived in the 101-year-old, recalled in 1981 interview that the estate became practically a country club with its enclosed swimming pool, tennis courts, a 9-hole pitch and putt golf course, and formal gardens. The Spanish colonial revival house was fully enjoyed by him and his wife, Josephine W. Bullock Toberman, and their children, Jeanette, Homer, and Catherine. It took 2 years to build, and it finished by 1924, just in time for the eldest daughter, Catherine, to hold her wedding there. And its compilation, the 1847 Camino Palmero, was prominently featured in Architect Digest magazine. Old photos demonstrate the grandeur of 1847 Camino Parkway and abated throughout the years from elegant wrought iron gateway to the elaborate stairway. The home's majestic details have been impeccably preserved for future generations.